The English language has over 70,000 different words, but there's one word that everybody is mispronouncing. Like pretty much 99% of the people that I speak to, especially people that I'm coaching, people from non-English speaking countries, they all mispronounce this one word. And it's a problem because this particular word appears very frequently in the English language. In fact, it appears in pretty much almost every single sentence. And the word is the or the. I don't know why this happens, but we can do something about it. We're going to have a look at my masterclass. This is the excerpt of page 45 of my 72-page ebook. And I'm giving it to you absolutely for free, because I think this is the most important stuff that you have to master. And if you master this, you will become gods of the English language. So first and foremost, let me torture you a little bit. I'm going to ask you to pause this video and read the first sentence up here. Right? I call this Mike's favorite sentence because I'm talking about Mike Tyson, who has a bit of a lisp and an inability to pronounce the TH sounds. But the sentence is, even though the thoroughly toughened teacher thought the thoroughly thorough test was thoroughly tough, she thoughtfully and through sheer thoroughness went through it. Now I bet you $100 you've tongue twisted the living crap out of your tongue, because that's exactly why this is in here for. But it's got some colors, and you might be wondering, what do these colors mean? The colors, right? Well, the colors are here to cover this. The difference between the regular T sound, so for example, my name is Tim, right? T, Tim, that would be the sound of T. And these are the blue sounds. We all know these. These are really easy. Tough, toughened, teacher, test, time, tired, talk, top, tiger, 10, tomorrow. Every single person that I've spoken to in the last year, or anyone that I've coached, masters this one. So there's no issues whatsoever. But when it comes to the TH sounds, suddenly we have a problem, okay? And if I go back to the original sentence and I read it in the Balkan accent, so the accent that people in my country, Slovenia, would have, they would probably read it something like this. Even though the thoroughly toughened teacher thought the thoroughly thorough test was thoroughly tough, she thoughtfully and through sheer thoroughness went through it. Now, maybe you'll notice that I read that particularly quickly. I didn't really have to, break a sweat because it was actually pretty simple to read. The problem is that English language uses two sounds, the TH sounds, that don't exist in most other languages. And the sounds are the and th. Now, to make this a little bit easier for you to understand, I'm actually going to be zooming in. Hello there. So, what I want you to do is, to practice this sound, is your tongue is going to have to come out of your mouth, okay? And I want you to imagine that it's peak winter, it's snowing outside, and you're in your short-sleeved shirt, and it's cold, and you're going, you're freezing, you're shivering, and it's this, that, these, those. Boom. There you go. Now you've just mastered the red ones, which are the sound of the. The, this, that, these, those, there, right? That's the sound that I want to create. Not the, this, that, these, those, but that, these. And also pay attention if you happen to be from the Eastern European countries or if you're German, because then you might be saying this. The, this, that, those. There's no z, right? Z. The tongue always has to be out of your mouth. The, this. When it comes to the green sounds, it's actually easier. It's easier but harder, depending on who you might ask. And I think if the hardest English word to master is the word of the hardest th sound would be a number. 1, 2, 3, right? Not 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Th. Again, I'm going to zoom in here on the good old face, because I want you to, again, bite your tongue and go and simply blow air out of it. Thinking, thought, 3, thermometer. Easy as that. Thirsty, right? It's not I'm thirsty or I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty. A great practice for all of these words is to always extend the sound of TH. Make it as long as you possibly can, because that will actually make it easier for you to practice it. What's happening at the moment is the following. You are not used to, training these muscles, because that's really what it is. Imagine that you have never in your life done a push-up, okay? You've never been to the gym, you've never done a push-up, right? You're skinny. If I tell you to give me 100 push-ups, that's going to be a bit of a task. And something similar is happening here. The sounds of the and th require time to produce. And because you're not trained, your muscles are going to start hurting. Your tongue has to move into a position that it's not used to. And it's going to be a long and lengthy process. And you're probably not going to enjoy it. Because of that, we want to spend time under tension, which means you want to do 1 push-up today, 2 push-ups tomorrow, 3 push-ups the day after that. I don't want you to be sore. I don't want you to be frustrated. I want you to be relaxed and realize that this, if you can master it, and pay close attention now, this is 20% of the effort for 80% of the result. The word "the" appears in pretty much 90% of English language. These, in front of you right now, in the green and red columns, are the most common words. Well, okay, some of them are not, right? I mean, thistle, probably not. Thermometer also, I don't think you're going to be using that often. But you can probably tell that a lot of these words we use very, very frequently. I mean, the number 3, you should know it, right? If you master this, then following the Pareto principle, which states 20% of the effort gives you 80% of the results, you will actually skyrocket your English, just like that. And literally that's all it takes. But I want you to keep in mind that your tongue needs to be bitten. It needs to be in between your teeth. It needs to be sticking out in order to produce these sounds. A lot of people are not comfortable doing this because they don't do it in their natural language. Think about it. Is there any sound that you produce in your native language that actually has you sticking your tongue out of your teeth? Probably not. But that's precisely what I want you to do, because there's no other way to do it. The and thing can only be pronounced if your tongue will actually be sticking out from your mouth. And if you follow these rules, that's all it takes, then you'll be able to read sentences like this one. Even though the thoroughly toughened teacher thought that the thoroughly thorough test was thoroughly tough, they and the others, though bothered, rather than withdrawing, rather themselves, then thoughtfully and through sheer thoroughness went through it. Now, those of you who paid attention to where my tongue was, you might realize that my tongue is only touching or sticking out of the teeth by a couple of millimeters. That comes through practice. In the beginning, I really want you to stick the tongue out as far as possible. I actually want you to be and sound a little bit like Daffy the Duck, right? Even though I want you to like sputter out. There has to be some saliva that gets spluttered around, unfortunately, because you are practicing a sound that is not in your native language's vocabulary. It's just, you're not used to doing it. It's like going to the gym and doing an exercise you've never done before. Your muscles will hurt, your body will sort of refute it, and you have to go through the process over and over and over again. And if you just stick here and you just practice the sounds of the, particularly this sound, because this word appears so commonly in the English language that if you master it, you've pretty much become God among men. Just try it, honestly. If you can master this, then everything else becomes insane in the English language, because it's so difficult to produce these sounds. You know, if I say here, threshold. I mean, literally, pay attention to where my tongue is. Threshold, right? And your mouth has to really open up wide because the tongue has to have space. And you have words like bath, but then you have also words like both. And both, the mouth has to make the whole movement. What most of us are used to doing, actually, is speaking but barely opening our mouth. And it's very, very difficult to speak without opening your mouth much. And we've become lazy. We've really become complacent in our speech by not actually spending time adequately putting in the effort. I mean, imagine doing a push-up by, and you've probably seen this on Instagram or TikTok, where people do these push-ups where they're barely moving. It's like, no, you want the full momentum all the way from the top. Your belly has to almost touch the ground, then you push yourself back out. That's the way that you do the practice. So time under tension. If you want to practice the red sounds, the sound of the, it's almost like a bee flying around. So you bite your tongue and you play around, right? I mean, you played around like this when you were a kid. I know, I built Lego Star Wars and that would, shit would be flying around. So just make the same sound. I know, it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but you have to practice the sound if you actually want to use it. So red ones, vibrating, bite your tongue, make sure the tongue is actually sticking out from your teeth. And then the green ones, they're a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more silent. And one way that I usually describe this to my coaching clients, I say it like this. The blue words, the red words, they're loud. They're either vibrating or they're popping, right? Tough, and teacher. If you have a partner, and let's say she's sleeping, right? Your girlfriend is sleeping or your wife is sleeping, If you wanted to whisper something into her ear in the middle of the night and you used the blue or the red words, you will wake her up. But if you use the green words, you might not, because think, thought, thorough. The green words are ASMR friendly, let's put it that way. But practice both of them. Chances are for most people that you're going to struggle more with the red ones or more with the green ones. It really depends on which your native language is, depends on how used you are to producing these sounds and what sounds best for you. Record yourself going through these words, listen back to it, compare it to the way that I say it, and then if you want a challenge, read through these sentences. See if you can't do what I've done, which is read through them fast, meticulously, and not get your tongue twisted. That's it. That's all I wanted to share with you here. 10 minutes, 11 minutes, bunch of information, bunch of knowledge, but follow this and you will never again mispronounce the English sounds of the and the. Bye-bye.